Adobe, a sun-dried brick made of clay, sand, and earth. My house is made of adobe. I affectionately call it my mud house or house of mud. I can view spectacular sunsets as we look westward towards a mountain. That's my new house. And there's the transition to the old house. At the Saguaro National Park East, we visited the adobe remains of the Freeman homestead. The ground that we're looking at is the mound of dirt left over. We stood upon it as we listened to the park ranger. The cornerstone was visible, marking the edge. The next site we visited was Guavave, a 1700s mission established by Padre Quino, a Jesuit missionary of the Catholic Church. The missions were established along the Santa Cruz so they'd be near a water source. These remains still had the adobe walls of the church visible. We then drove over to the Calabasas mission, which had a metal structure put over it for some protection against the eroding element of rain. There was a lot more that remains intact at the site, located within view of the highway. Our third and final mission was at Tumacacori National Park, which has been even better preserved with its church intact, the walls, roofs, and doors. The adobe has been better taken care of. After the missions, which were built by Spanish missionary in the 1700s, we visited Casa Grande National Park, which was built by Native Americans before the Spanish came, but still made of adobe. There the students helped make mud caps on the remains of some adobe walls to preserve and protect them from the weather. Casa Grande ruins actually had a protective structure built over it in the 1950s. The adobe structures we viewed progressively got better as the amount of building remaining increased. The next Native American built adobe and stone structures we visited was at Montezuma Castle and Montezuma Well. The castle was built on the side of a cliff wall above the river valley. This was a pillaged site, so not many artifacts were found, but the diorama reviewed gave us an idea of what life would have been like. At Montezuma Well, a shift of the Earth's crust caused the water table to rise and change the flow of an underwater stream to go upward, forming this cavern. The top had collapsed, so the lake that formed was exposed. The people who settled here built homes of rock and adobe in the cliffs and the caves formed by the well. At Tuzigoot, the Native Americans built their multi-room city out of rock and mortar. This structure survived better than the castle. There were many more remains of pottery that we could view. It was built on a hill above a river valley. Back in Tucson, we visited the Mission Gardens, reconstruction of the walls only completed in the past decade. The fruit trees were just planted in 2012. The Mission Gardens are located near a mountain, which I can see from my house of mud. The Presidio Fort we toured was a reconstruction of the northeast corner of the original Presidio. The year the fort is set in is 1776, with concrete stabilized adobe. There is even remains of a Native American pit house visible in the middle. The Spanish built a huge fort over it unknowingly, as perhaps many structures are in Tucson and around the world. Archaeologists dig to unearth such ancient dwellings to find out more about the people who lived here before us. At Saguaro National Park West, we helped clear off the concrete slabs built there in the 1930s by the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps. The FEMA camp was set up to house the CCC workers who worked on the park's trails. At this site, we also viewed the remains of adobe structures, which were built at the same time as part of the camp. I focused on the buildings we visited in awe that they were made from earth.